Hello and welcome to the Ministry for Psychic Weather. This is our second installment in which we will put out our feelers and see what the psychosphere has to say to us. Tune in.
Okay, tonight we should talk about renfielding, a controversial subject, uh, but it's one I firmly believe is real. I mean, I even typed into AI and asked what renfielding was, and it said people and groups who exhibit the behaviors of the character Renfield in the Dracula story. They seem to be precursors of an event that's about to happen. Like for the last time we did the show, we were all detecting some very intense Renfielding, and then the whole Charlie Kirk thing happened a couple of days later. So it may well have been that it will cause that because people lost their minds when that happened all over the world. I mean, there's some really bizarre behavior went down. So that may well have been that. It's almost like a foreshadowing of what's coming. But I'll tell you guys, what I notice at the moment is there's not much Renfielding other than, and it probably maybe is a kind of a Renfield at the moment. Nobody's around. I've noticed that like whenever I go out, everywhere's empty. There's nobody around. It's almost like they're almost hiding indoors. There's almost like it's like the hermit card. It's like that kind of thing. They're all gone. And I'm finding it very peculiar. The streets are very much quieter, the roads are much quieter, the shops are much quieter, and everyone seems catatonic. There's almost like a weird kind of, you know, nothingness about everybody. I don't know what you guys have noticed, but that's what I've noticed. It's been very peculiar, actually, and kind of, if I have to say, spooky.
Yeah, yeah, the streets have been empty, and I think a lot of people are just unsettled by so many events happening. You're not safe in the streets, so people are starting to spend more time at home and places that they actually feel safe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth that it's almost like they're haunting themselves now. Have you noticed that? There's a lot of the kind of things that were important to them a few years ago. They either mock it or they don't want to talk about it. Like, if you look online and you talk about the whole, Rona thing and the needlecraft, they just don't even talk about it, or they'll say, "We're not going through that again. You're not going to pull that one on us ever again." And I'm finding it's almost like they're going into kind of a dormancy phase or something. And this is kind of like, what's this all about? I know winter's coming, and I know a lot of people probably have winter viruses, and that may be accounted for it as well. But it does make me wonder if we're going to have some really dark stuff happen this winter on the global stage. There's it even seems like everywhere's gone nuts. Even the US seems to have gone nuts. This talk of like, there's a very aggressive talk everywhere. England and Britain, the whole thing with the digital ID. Now, thank God there's been a big backlash to that. But I think there's huge numbers of people are almost like accepting that they're going into it's almost like they're in a kind of a palliative care for their souls. And they're like accepting that they're going to like not be like they're going to be gone, into the machine, into the cloud. And it's very, very peculiar.
Yes, and
Yeah.
also the theme of cognitive dissonance, I think, is still present for a lot of, let's say, normies. And they just want, business as usual to go on, but something deep, deep inside tells them that no, it's not as usual, certainly not. And what I've noticed about people, I've been noticing it for a good while actually, but it seems to increase a lot recently, is that they don't have a real signature, an energetic signature. I feel like they're voids, they're almost like holograms to me. And as much as I enjoy dissociating from normie world, it is kind of bizarre to notice that.
Yeah, it's the classic NPC, isn't it? This the soulless kind of robotic. NPC that
Yeah, and it's even worse than normal NPCs because it seems like the normal NPCs have gone into some sort of, they retreat into themselves. I don't know how to say it really. And it's just a very strange non-presence that they have, a physical thing as well as a spiritual thing.
I noticed that in the past where they've tried to make me try to make a conversation, or they're not even bothering with that now. It's almost like they're switched off to a deeper level. And I wonder how much is that AI doing their thinking for them.
yeah, yeah. Everything's being done and for them, including thinking. So, yeah. And I wonder
And
how many people are traumatized as well. You know,
in what way? Traumatized by what? Just the world?
the world, yeah. Since 2020, we've had all kinds of nasty things happen, and a lot of people know that something isn't right, but they can't put their finger on it. And just the trauma of, maybe some people are also waking up a bit and realizing that people lied to them, including the government. And, I don't think everyone's soulless, but I think some people are definitely traumatized by it all.
You see, one of the things I've noticed too is that they outsource every aspect of their lives now. Have you noticed that? Like, it is so much entertainment on the TV and on the internet, and there's so much social media, and so much every aspect of their life, someone is doing it for them. Now you have AI girlfriends and boyfriends and husbands and all this stuff. It's like the skill sets that you need to negotiate in this world, they're like gone. You don't need them. They've decided, oh, I'll just have AI and the Matrix outsource my thing. I'll outsource all my aspects of my life to that, and they'll take care of me. And I find that really like surreal. Like they almost like have a comfort in it, like they've all entered into a kind of a home, a retirement home while they're still young and still alive. And it's all the AI doing it is like the taking care of them.
Yeah, that started with porn, didn't it? Or that was one of the first things where you don't actually need a girlfriend anymore. You've just got your phone and, it's a real we're kind of reaching a point where everything is quite soulless.
Yeah, I
Um
used to make a joke back then. As soon as they make the tea, as soon as they could get one to make the tea, I'm jumping ship. And it's funny, like we're getting at that stage now, it's not a joke anymore.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but to be fair, I believe that as sad as it is and as weird and bewildering, also to me at least, it's still better that a certain type of man stays away from women and has his fun with an imaginary AI girlfriend. I mean, it's the type of man who might not be the best choice for most women. I just put it very carefully here. So maybe there is a little bit of an upside there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to bring up the psychic weather in and around the Charlie Kirk bizarre funeral. I just still don't know how to react to that except to acknowledge it was bizarre. A widow coming out to a pyrotechnic display while music plays, and the normies all saying things like, "Oh, this is a really deep spiritual event," and it was possibly one of the most unspiritual things I've ever seen in my life, and soulless things. And then we hear that they're all rushing back to church. But I think a lot of people too have seen through it. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I put off watching it until yesterday, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's like, is this just this? Is this just that Christian, born again Christian superficiality taken to its extreme? Is that what we're dealing with?
Yeah, I haven't actually I've seen a little bit of it, but I couldn't stomach it. It didn't feel right to me. It felt like a real display, you know, something quite not false, but just ostentatious and over the top and not private. You know. disrespectful, maybe. I don't know, but I'm just not comfortable with a lot of things that I'm seeing at the moment.
Yeah, it was performative. Someone put a comment on one of my videos. It was performative Christianity.
Hmm.
Doesn't everything seem performative now? Like, again, it's almost like these people think that being spiritual is performing it in a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, though, a lot of, well, not to be mean or anything, but a lot of Christians for decades, I've noticed it is about performance and it's about being the respectable, good Christian that sends their kids to Sunday school and then behind closed doors they're not so nice.
Yes, I've noticed that too, and very close in my own social circles actually, because there's one Christian, so-called Christian woman who always goes for all the bells and whistles. And what did she do in 2020? She reported an elderly woman for breaking quarantine because that woman went to buy flowers. Oh my God. And
Oh.
that woman was just, I mean, to me, she was kind of dead since then. And I'm like, okay, where is love thy neighbor? What about that? Where did that
Hmm.
go? So it's just so typical for a lot of, I'm not saying all of them, my goodness, I know very, very decent Christian people as well, but some of them, they're just, you know, uh, uh, pictures of innocence in church, and like you said, Fiona, behind closed doors, they're just the exact opposite.
This has a crossover into something I saw. This whole new age thing of, Christ consciousness, that whole new age thing, There was Greg Braden, kind of like a new agey guy. He's mostly harmless. He doesn't bother me. But he was on Joe Rogan, and he started going on about the books that have been left out of the Bible. Now, there's a whole subculture among truthers and New Agers that there's some great secret that's in those books that have been left out that the church doesn't want you to know. And I've actually looked into them, and what they left out were things saying that Christians can't make it to heaven, women don't have souls, only Jews are going to get to heaven. Jesus was only here for the Jews; he wasn't here for anyone else, and that's what they've left out. And when they're confronted with that, they literally implode. So Greg Braden was going on about the Gospel of Thomas, which is kind of like this New Agers kind of imaginary Bible, and of like secrets. And the first thing the guy pulls up is Jesus saying that women are like cattle; they don't have souls, and the only way they can get into heaven is by becoming a man.
Wow.
And Greg Braden went, like, you weren't supposed to read that bit. You were supposed to read, this whole thing of like, oh geez, the way to go on about like, oh, the Gospel of St. Thomas is more like portraying Jesus as Buddha or something like that. And so there's so much fake. I mean, us three are pagans, and Tina's not here tonight. She's a pagan too, as well. But I wish these people would see that that religion was not created for anything else other than to control them. And I think it has a cascading effect all through society. I'm astonished by the power that Christianity has in the United States. I'm astonished by it, to the point where they would willingly go to war over it and destroy the world with nukes. I just find it incredible.
Yes, and I was so appalled with this entire pagan threat hysteria. It seems to have died down quite quickly, or is it just an intermezzo of
It
relative
didn't. It didn't
quietness? I don't
fly.
know.
It didn't fly. Even Christians were saying, no, no, they're not the problem.
Thank goodness.
Hmm.
Thank goodness some of them have brains because it was like shockingly, shockingly stupid. I mean, like, Bible Belt truther type of
Yeah,
stupid.
oh, yeah, yeah. There's a. I found a. I wish I could. I should scan it in. I found a copy of a satanic panic book going around. Dan was teaching Christians what the real meaning of Samhain and Halloween is. Oh, it's hilarious. It's like, and the Druids baked children into pies and cakes and ate. And Samhain means Satan. It comes from its root.
Oh, oh my goodness. It's so ridiculous. I mean, everyone can see who the real threat is here. Like, nobody's stupid. And it ain't pagans, that's for sure. Yeah,
No,
I
I
mean,
mean,
oh, sorry,
sorry.
go ahead, Lydia.
I mean, when was the last time some incensed, highly emotional pagan priest called for repentance or whatever? When was the last time you saw a pagan priest in some mega church blurt something into the microphone that is basically extremely discriminatory and extremely bigoted and narrow-minded? When did you see a pagan do that the last time? Never, because we don't have the platforms. So what's going on here? How are we a threat when we do not have the type of clout that Christians
Yeah.
have?
When was the last time a pagan drove a truck into a Christmas market?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Well,
use kitchen utensils in public places on people? When was that? When did that ever happen?
Yeah.
paganism, authentic paganism that actually puts people in touch with their roots and they form a connection with the land that they walk on. It's a huge threat to globalism.
Oh yeah.
So they always try and put it down or, release a book or whatever. And the whole pagan scene has really been subverted by a lot of undesirable types that have no connection with anything that their ancestors did. New
Oh yeah.
new age pushers and the communist agenda pushers.
Yeah. I can't imagine too many lesbians as shield maidens back in the day.
Yeah.
Or Vikings confused about their gender?
Yeah, they
Oh yeah.
actually did try and say that. They did try and say that they were transgender Vikings. I think it was a
Oh yeah.
BBC.
The Sathers, which was not the Sathers were allowed to be men and women, and sometimes they would dress up in different clothes as a kind of a shamanic thing to enter into. They would sneak into the spirit world as a woman when they were actually a man. But of course, now that means it's transgender. Yeah.
Uh, well, there might be more and more. We might see more Abrahamic kind of pushing, in the TV and the media, because Neptune is going back into Pisces again at the end of October. And Pisces is connected to, Christianity and those types of religions. And there really seems to me like there are a lot of these very hardline Christian people that do podcasts. I can't influencers, that's the word. They're starting to pop up more and more, which I kind of find suspicious. Have you
Yeah,
noticed that?
Neptune is also the planet of media, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes all the sense in the world that they would, kind of ride the wave at the moment and until Neptune finally goes into Aries again. But that's only going to happen next year. So I think there might be a doubling down even in some cases on their religious beliefs and yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these people are being promoted because people are becoming, the masses are becoming, or a large portion of them, they're becoming more tribal because they see what's going on in the world, in their countries and stuff like that. So these Christian people are kind of trying to catch them, to bring them back into that fold and not anything else.
Well, that's why the Roman Empire adopted it and foisted it upon Europe. It was a way of unifying the empire without having to use the expensive military. It was like a cheap and cheerful way of like getting everyone into the fold, and it worked. It worked spectacularly well. I don't understand. One of the things that I don't is it hasn't emerged for me yet anyway, is how are they going to get all these born again Christians into the AI thing? I know there's AI religions and stuff, but they tend to be more like kind of like techie kind of weird cults. but like, how are they actually, will there be like a Jesus in the cloud, and literally, that they'll try. That's something I've been watching for a while now, waiting to see if that's going to unfurl, because they're going to have a big problem with trying to get Christians who are expecting to go to heaven into the AI system.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, if they manage to stop it, I think that's a good thing. I'm glad the Christians are saying no. But that card is almost like either they haven't played it yet, or they don't know how to get them to play it. Like, I thought the Charlie Kirk funeral might have been the start of something like that, because it was kind of like showbiz and Christianity mixed together, which is like how you would get them into something like that.
Yeah, they probably take it slowly and give people time to adjust, because the whole AI thing really seemed to happen just overnight, like all of a sudden. Um,
Yeah.
it was around what, 2019 or 2020 that they really started to talk about it in the media, and it was another thing that made that whole time so bizarre and like sci-fi like.
Yeah. There's another thing. This is definitely relating to the cyclic weather. I've had the seasonal flu, or whatever it is at the moment, and I'm having the same wild, intense dreams, very bizarre and very surreal dreams that I was having at the beginning of 2020. Have you guys been having any crazy dreams lately?
Yeah, crazy dream galore. Absolutely. But it's been like this for months for me.
For months
So,
for you?
yeah.
Like,
So on
some
and
of my
off.
dreams are very violent, and a lot of them involve blood, or the transfer of blood. It's real, not me. Like, I'm seeing others do it. Like, and it's done in a very almost like almost sexualized kind of way. It's truly bizarre, and but not very unpleasant. Very unpleasant, and so are these dreams a psychic precognition thing, or in are they weaponized into these viruses that they've created? It's hard to know.
Mm. It does feel though that something is coming, doesn't it?
Mm.
It does. And it's felt like that for a while. And I think over the winter it's kind of going to intensify. I mean, I
Oh,
don't
and
know.
that's I've noticed time has slowed down again after speeding through during the summer. September, at the end of September, it seemed to start to lag again. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I have noticed that. And I was thinking about that a lot. And uh black holes, I've been thinking about those because we can use those in astrology. And they do something weird to time, and they do something to, I don't know if it's dimensions, but the dreams that you were talking about, I've been having a lot of dreams, but it's nothing wacky or surreal. I'm actually living another life somewhere, and it's normal everyday stuff, but the people in that life I don't know, and it's just been repeating. But I have no idea what that is. But I do know that time has been really weird, and people were picking up on all kinds of like different sensations, and almost like one world is overlapping with another. And I kind of figured that it was to do with the black hole in astrology. Now that's going to continue, and Saturn's going to be aspecting this black hole again, like next spring and summer. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because a lot of people have experienced cryptids and more paranormal activity and just crazy sci-fi stuff.
Mm. The quantum retrocausality thing, one of the way you could go back and change the past, one of the ways they described it, well, when you think about it, you couldn't really describe these things. They're beyond the comprehension of the human mind, really, when you think about it. But so the modeling that they used was that the future is going forward in this direction, right? And the past is coming back in this direction. And we're living in a space between the past and the future, moving at incredible speed. And this is how we can affect the past. We can go back and change the past because it's coming towards us. and we change it in that part, and then by the time it reaches us, something that happened in your past didn't happen anymore, and they've shown that this is actually possible. So I get very much the sensation that I'm caught in two timelines now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
caught in some kind of quantum. I don't know if CERN caused this or whatever, but this is, like many of us, we started to notice this with the Mandela effect. That there was like, okay, there's something to this, absolutely, 100%. And could it be just people like us, right? That are the ones, because of who we are, what we are, we're outside the norm, that we're a fully aware that we're in the middle of these two conflicting past and present and future flying in opposite directions, and where others can't see it, but we can. But that's when you say something is coming. It's almost like people like us are able to look ahead and see that there is something coming down the road. That's or we can feel it in a precognitive way, or even through our dreams. And that's what I'm thinking is like, it's almost like nature makes some people more psychic to 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 know these things, so they can see them coming.
Yeah. Yeah. The two different realities, it has been very, very powerful. Uh, it's really hard to describe, but sometimes you get the sensation of even going back into recent time, like the 70s. It's like it feels like it's the 70s. And I made a post about that on Facebook, and other people were saying they felt the same thing. It's a sensation, but yeah, it's really strange. But when things start to get really weird like that, you do know that something's coming because it's the psychic weather.
Yes, and I remember in the 90s, I was a teenager, a kid and teenager in the 90s, and the late 90s felt like something was over and forever gone. And for some reason, and to this day, I don't know why I thought that, but for some reason, I felt and thought that the 90s were kind of a bit of a reflection of the 60s. But I don't know
Mm.
why I felt this way. I couldn't possibly tell you. And
Well,
at
there
the
was loads of 60 revival music in the 90s.
end,
A
maybe
lot
I
of bands were doing like mod music and stuff like that, and things like that.
Yeah, but I was so out of the loop. I was so out of the
Yeah.
loop with music in the 90s. I didn't know anything. I discovered 90s bands much later. I mean, of course I knew them, but I discovered their music much later. I was on a different planet. Anyway, it's not about that. But what I'm trying to say is that I felt that something was coming in the late 90s, and especially the year 2000 and 2001 felt eerie, and it almost had this, not the same quality as now, but a somewhat similar quality, in that it kind of felt hollow, like flavored chewing gum that you've just had in your mouth for too long and it tastes like nothing. There was something holographic about this, the whole time quality, and I'm kind of recognizing this now. And we all know what happened in 2001. I'm not saying that something like this happens again, because I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't. But the quality is similar. That's what I'm trying to put into words.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. It felt like culture ran out in the 1990s. We ran out of culture. Like even the way they had the whole Britpop thing in the 90s, that was just the revival of the 60s. You kind of knew then, it's like, oh, there's nothing new coming.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I felt a profound sadness. And I should have felt much sadder in the mid 90s, because that was not a good time for me personally, but I didn't. I felt much, much sadder, and kind of, I didn't know it was nostalgia. Maybe it was something else, but there was an underlying aching in my heart at the end of the 90s for something that I lost, or that the world lost, or something like that. It's very strange, because I wasn't even a pagan back then. I didn't know what I was. So I didn't think of these things much in terms of, quantum, whatever. That wasn't a thing back then at all. Although I did read some, new agey stuff, and Greg Braden actually rings a bell because I must have read one of his books 1,000 years ago. But Yeah, it's very similar, and I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, and frankly, I try my best to look at the world and see what's going on, but then dissociate into my little Delulu world because what else am I gonna do, right? I mean, face it and fight. Okay, yeah, but first of all, we have to see what it is and try not to get caught up in whatever is presented to us.
And you feel that that's happening now again.
I feel that there is a strange quality, but it's been like that for especially since 2020, that everything is pale and empty, and it feels extremely surreal. But in my case, I've felt this surreal thing since I can remember. One of the first conscious thoughts that I remember having as a child was everything's like in a dream. The sentence just came, or rather feeling came to me then as a, I don't know, 3 year old or something. And it has never left me ever. So normies would probably diagnose me with something if I told them that. But this feeling of bizarre emptiness, it has ramped up like crazy since 2020. And there's also a sadness, like, where are we going? What
Mm.
is all this? Where are we headed?
What is the astrology like in the upcoming, say, upcoming weeks and maybe month ahead? Is there anything interesting going down?
There's a well, Mars is in Scorpio at the moment, which is a bit spicy, a bit hot and spicy because Mars is very strong in Scorpio, and Mars is the planet of aggression and war and violence and things like that. But it is passing over a couple of difficult stars towards the end of the month and the beginning of November, quite dangerous stars. So I'd kind of be watching out around that time.
So you're saying this could be a volatile period coming up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There is a full moon on the 7th of October, which is already a kind of loaded date now, isn't it? Because of what had happened 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's in Aries, which is, kind of hot-headed and full on. It's kind of prime for renfielding, but it's also a conjunct a star, a fixed star called Algorab in the Corvus constellation, and it has a malevolent, destructive type of vibe to it. So that would be a day to watch, is that date again.
The moon is also heavily associated with that part of the world as well. We know that most of those cults were lunar worship cults originally.
That's right. Yeah. Other astrological stuff going on this month. There's also a half moon on the 29th. A half moon in astrology is when the sun makes a difficult aspect to the moon, and it's a renfielding one because the moon is in Aquarius and the sun is in Scorpio, and we've still got Mars in Scorpio, so that could be kind of explosive, and maybe people going off on the internet and that type of thing. Hopefully not worse than that, but these days you just don't know, do you? There's so many things happen all the time, and it's like,
Because of the instability of everything at the base level. It's
yeah,
like we're all walking through some minefields, the whole world.
yeah. And people can't control their emotions anymore. Nobody seems to have any kind of logical thought. It's all emotional based and anger and impulse based desires. It's what happened.
And conformity is confused for intellect. Just agreeing with the conformist view somehow makes you, it's about the whole midwit thing, isn't it? Is making people believe they're intellectuals.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how it comes up to sound with all the all the, we should be trying to get a show maybe done before, before Samhain.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be, we know what that represents in the sort of psychic and spiritual realms of the other world, and the other world literally is another dimension. When you start looking at how the ancients looked at it, that they didn't see it as heaven or hell, or they saw it as literally another dimension, and they use our modern language. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in sound this year. I'll be paying careful attention of what's
Mm.
brought in from the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always good just to ask the ancestors to help us as well. I mean, that's the whole point of sound is to connect with your ancestors and honor them. And, they can help because they're genetically connected to you. So, I mean, I think it was the guy from Survive the Jive, Tom Rousel, is it? And
Yeah.
he made a post on Telegram about Samhain, well, saying, well, people think that it's only Irish, but actually the Germanics, they had a similar festival. And actually, it seems to be global, or that everyone did this for their ancestors before the Abrahamic religions came along. But now we don't think about them, we ignore them.
Yeah, well, we're all Germanic anyway. I mean, well, Western Europe and Northern Europe anyway, even what they call Celtic ultimately goes back to the Germanic kind of origin. So probably would have came from there anyway. And there's, you see, because of this concept of the veil, we're talking about these two different worlds and Samhain coming up. There's a danger in that in between, you know, in within paganism, you're almost like your own psychopomp. You have to guide your own soul across to the other side, but there's still the dangers in between where you have these entities that will try and grab you and want to grab you in between at that point. And if we're to take that spiritual idea and bring it into the flesh and blood world, what I would be concerned about around coming up the sound is deception, some kind of deception on the global level. And that's something I'm going to really keep my eye open in terms of psychic weather, keeping my eye open for a fast one being played on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is very, very Neptune in
Mm-hmm.
Pisces, very much, even though Neptune retrograde is said to be about looking behind deceptions. But as usual, this is going to be a kind of a split reality in which a certain portion of humanity falls for the deception, whereas the other sees it for what it is or questions it at the very least.
And we should also be hopeful because it could also be the bookmark at the end of the 2020 nonsense. We could also be coming out of a cycle of that control as well. So, we should look at the resistance to the digital ID in Britain. I think that's something that we might see more of too. So they're not getting. I think they've gotten afraid about just how much resistance there is to it. That they thought there's going to be a little bit, but even in their own ranks, people are saying it doesn't do anything. It's really just about control. So, uh, you know, this is where we have to be real careful and watch what they're up to because we know how sneaky and devious they are.
Yeah, the digital ID thing, it kind of reminded me of Brexit in a way where they're kind of pretending that the masses still have some form of control, and then okay, we'll give you Brexit. The people have voted for it, but then they just
Yeah.
flood the place with immigrants and then they can't leave, and literally nothing else changed. None of the laws changed or anything. It's still basically, the same as the EU. So it's so sneaky. And that digital ID thing, I'm just waiting for something like that, to be honest.
And they're spiteful as well. I mean, you look at like someone like Starmer and all the EU leaders, they're all like bitch queens. They're all like really bitchy and then they're men, most of them, but they're like really vindictive and bitchy. There's a dark feminine quality to them that's very peculiar. that they were like, okay, you had Brexit, well, we're gonna wreck a country now. We're gonna wreck everything. But
Hmm.
there's an infantilism as well, a couple to that also.
Yeah. It's just strange to me how they're pushing the let's get digital ID to stop illegal immigration. So if they say, "Oh, okay, we listened to you, you're not going to have it," then they're going to use that as an excuse to for more immigration, I think. Call me cynical, but that's just what I think.
No, that's the deception I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's but there'll be even they're also they're banging the war drums up again with Russia again. That's another one. They seem to have that fetish back now.
Yeah.
That they're suddenly worrying about Russia again. Well, pretending to be.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this whole shifting of alliances is so weird. You know, I think it started with Elon and Trump, the big high school drama there. Besties one day and mortal enemies the next. You don't know what's up. Not that I care because it's like a Dallas episode or something. At this point, it's like a bad soap opera anyway. But yeah, alliances that shift, and suddenly, this president was tight besties with that one, and all of a sudden he goes to his enemy. And what? It's like, play your show. I'm half watching, but
Yeah, it's like Tina said the other day. You don't know what to believe.
Mm-hmm.
All we can do is look for hints and clues, but that's it. You can't like literally take anything at face value.
No. The Denmark has been complaining about drones, at the
I saw
airports
that.
and stuff, and they're blaming it could be Russia. Well, how come they didn't care about all the drones then? Was it last spring? Remember they were everywhere and they were in Denmark as well. Like, why all of a sudden?
The New Jersey ones, yeah.
Yeah, and they were seen here too. Like, why is it? Why didn't they care about them?
But I'm fascinated by those drones. I think there's a real Fortean quality to these things, and I don't think they're necessarily psyops or anything like that. I don't necessarily. Why just pick on one place? I find these things, if we lived in the past, people would be seeing angels and devils in the sky. Now they see drones that don't make any sense, and this kind of thing. We'll always wrap our technology. It's like in the 1800s, everyone was seeing airships,
Hmm.
that didn't exist yet. Uh, I don't know. I was like thinking about you in Denmark there. I was like, I don't really. I'd be a bit concerned about Denmark now, like with this going on. What when you think about look at Denmark's position, it's very strategically placed at the mouth of the Baltic. At where the Baltic meets the Atlantic, and if there was, that Nord Stream pipeline and everything went through there, that part of the world, if there was ever a front line between NATO and Russia, it would probably be the Baltic.
Hmm. So what do you think the drones are then? Do you think it's like traditionally the sky has always been said to reflect our consciousness or aspects of
Yeah,
our
like that's why they just suddenly disappear out of the blue. They're all everywhere and then they just vanish. The ones in New Jersey, I mean, I really took a deep dive into that, and there were stories of fishermen seeing these things coming out of the sea, uh, and lit up under the water, and and coming up and into, and then following them, and then the things disappearing into the sea. And then there's remarkable videos of people communicating with them, talking to them, and they moving and changing lights or changing direction. And there was, and it was only some people could do it, other people couldn't. And yeah, I mean, it's like the will o' the wisp. That's just we know that's swamp gas. The old joke was the UFOs are swamp gas, but within folklore, people will tell you that the swamp gas responds to human thoughts and humans talking to it. That you can actually, the bog lights can be actually communicated with. and they will move. And this seems to be the same thing too. I mean, again, it's a fracturing. It's like what Carl Jung said. And Carl Jung wrote probably still the best book on flying saucers. He said we throw phantoms up into the sky during periods of great psychic trauma among the population, and this seems to be again, it is a kind of a renfielding, I think. And
Mm.
the people create these lights in the sky. They create, in the past they would have created angels or dragons, or and you ever see demons. And before, when the I think it was around the Ottomans were in danger of moving into Switzerland. One city in Switzerland, people saw just like battles in the sky with these giant lights flying around. It's a very famous woodcut of it, and was seen in Germany as well. On the eve of the Third Reich's annexation of Austria, the whole of Europe was given an incredible light show that in the sky that was reported in all the from one end of Europe to another. It just, the sky lit up with strange lights, and it was reported in all the papers. You can actually dig the documents out, and nobody knew that the Third Reich was going to annex Austria. They just moved in the next day, kind of thing. I mean, it was kind of like being spoken about, but they did it the night before it happened. Then they crossed the border. It was the one that, and that was really a real beginning of World War II, because that meant that the Third Reich had been created by the unification of Austria and Germany. And I think they're the same thing too. I think they're the phantasms of our tormented consciousness, and they're thrown up into the sky. I really do
I
believe that. And there would be exploitation. There would be governments trying to use them. There would be assholes flying them as well, trying to like that, like I remember when the New Jersey ones were going on, people were so quick to take it. One guy said it was a special kind of drone that he had invented for cleaning up radiation, and it was all a bullshit story. It was complete lies, and he was trying to market his own drones and saying that's why he was the expert broad. He was trying to sell drones, and people readily took that, and then they switched off and said that's all it is. It's just like it's a government psyop thing. But I kept carefully watching it and watching the interviews, and that thing got very, very spooky towards the end. Uh, and coming right up to people's houses up when they were thinking to them, and they were praying to them and stuff like this. And then, just like I predicted, like in all these strange flaps, one day, boom, just gone away.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't help thinking that
But
these drones are like modern day tech versions of cryptids, like
yes,
Mm.
a tech
Yeah.
version of Mothman or something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about it, that's what probably most cryptids probably are. Things like, I mean, I certainly believe Bigfoot is like that, because, fairies, this kind of thing, fairies. Just because we have electronics and all this kind of stuff doesn't mean that these forces have gone away. They've moved with technology too,
Yeah.
and they're looking for ways to bedazzle us and spellbound us.
Yes, and what is up with those red sprites? They kind of
I
almost
know.
haunt me because I've never seen them in my entire life. And I believe, I don't know, you posted it on Telegram or somebody posted it
It
somewhere.
was me. It looked like it was a self-assembling molecule in the sky.
Somebody posted it, I can't remember
Yeah,
who it was, um, about, yeah, they're having like a mechanical machine-like
yeah,
appearance,
that was
and
me. Yeah, it looked
that's
like
Mm.
it was assembling
exactly
a
what I
machine.
thought. That's exactly what I thought when I saw them, or something insect-like, or like
Yes,
a, weird sci-fi transformer insect machine thingy. Very, very odd and just so unnatural. I can't for the life of me imagine that this is anything
it
natural
should be the
whatsoever.
biggest story in the world. I grew
Mm.
up an astronomy geek, and I never heard of them.
No.
And now you're hearing people that now they're just like, oh, here's more. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it should be the most fantastic thing. Why is it so treated so casually?
Yeah.
It could be a very dangerous thing for all we know. A planetary, doom or something, or something happened to the magnetosphere or something, or it could be something like what we're talking about. But the casual laissez-faire, oh look, here's some more sprites for you, and you cannot believe these photographs you're looking at. They're
Yeah.
straight out of science fiction film.
Yeah. It's unbelievable that they're not getting more attention.
Yeah, it's bewildering, and people act like they've always existed. You know, they don't. They just only count in the last few years.
Yeah, and like the northern lights and the auroras being seen everywhere. I mean, I can never remember that happening before, and people were acting, "Wow, look at it! Yeah, it's beautiful, but it's scary. Why is this?
Yeah.
Why
Well,
is
It
this
should
that
ha
not be seen over freaking southern Germany.
oh,
No,
Just shouldn't.
or Ireland?
well,
Um,
you will see them on the beach here. You'll see it on the horizon. You do get it, but not like the one that happened just before last. I think it was like back in last autumn. That was that was as good as anything you'd see in the Arctic Circle. It
hmm
was just astounding, the whole thing.
Yeah, and we have a lot of crazy solar activity at the moment as well, which is connected to people having psychotic breaks and things. You
Yeah.
know, scientists studied that in the 1800s and connected it with um, people having psychotic breakdowns, but also severe, like civil unrest. And we have all of that at the moment.
Isn't there a book that some guy plotted that, like, with certain solar cycles, you have more wars?
Yeah.
Like, went through history, and he showed like you had things like a religion started up, or
hmm
and it showed like we really are ruled by the heavens. We really are. Even comets is another one. There's quite a few comedy things as well in the news lately.
Yeah.
Comets, as you pointed out the other day, they always were seen as bad omens.
hmm Yeah. Always. And not this new age stuff, but I think that they can only really be considered an omen when you see them in the sky with your naked eye.
Yeah, I remember Hale Bopp. You could see that even in New York in the sky, and it was so clear. And that was when the whole Heaven's Gate thing happened. They all thought they were going to go on the comet, and they all committed suicide. Remember that?
Yeah.
Back, yeah, and like that, and that was a big deal at the time. And there seems to be a rise in cults like that cult in the African cult in Scotland. That's truly as weird as it gets. And I saw that girl interviewed last week, and I said she's been seriously brainwashed. And she just looks at it, like it's like they're no longer sky cults; they're just new kinds of cults developing.
hmm
So are we? I think we're nearly right. We're nearly there, are we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll just wrap it up. We can all give a little vox pop at the end. But what I'll say is that, like, this is not to scare anybody. It's just to give you a toolkit just in case, to be ready for things happen. But if I was to put my radar on, I would say prepare for shenanigans in and around selling on the global stage.
hmm Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say good night to you guys, and we'll have Tina back next time. She's having baby stuff to do. Okay, so thanks again, guys, and again in the conversation in the comments. By the way, great numbers on the last show. I thought that was it really hit really well. So keep it up, keep hitting the comments. Okay, good night, guys, and good night, everybody else.
Bye.
Bye.